I beat every single Five Nights at Freddy's game on the hardest difficulty in one stream. Here's how I did it. Before we start though, maybe your first time on the channel as well. It's my first time uploading a full-fledged YouTube video. So hey everyone, I'm Salmon Kid or Sam, and I like to beat fun and difficult challenges, like beating every single FNAF game on the hardest difficulty in one stream. This meant that I ate, slept, theorized, and played everything on stream 24/7. No breaks. Before we get into it though, I just want to give a massive shout out to the YouTube channel Ambience and a regular size shout out to the YouTube channels Yeah and Wendigoon. I'd never played any of these games before this stream in my life, and I wanted it to stay that way before the stream. So I needed a guide for the stream, so I didn't spend too much time on one game or the other, since beating all these games on the hardest difficulty is very time consuming. I'm graduating college this semester, and I don't think I've studied a single thing harder than I studied Ambience's guides for these games. So an enormous, massive shout out to him. Please go check him out. His content's great. He's absolutely awesome. Give him a subscribe, give him a like, all that good stuff. On top of this, we had a bit of downtime during portions of the stream where we were eating, sleeping, taking a break, whatever it may have been. And during this time, we'd watch content. A lot of that coming from the channels Yeah and Wendigoon. So please guys, they make phenomenal content. Some FNAF related and some not. So make sure you check them out, give them a subscribe as well. Their content's really interesting, and check them out after you watch this video. Also, if you yourself would like to attempt to beat one or multiple of these games, there are different guides linked in the description. One for FNAF 1 through 6, one for everything up to 50/20, and then a guide for 50/20 itself. The ultimate 50/20 guide, insanely well described. Everything is there, all in writing. If you're interested in those things, you should check them out. They're all free. They're on Google Drive. My gift to you. With that said, let's get into this. How I beat every single FNAF game on the hardest difficulty in one stream. The game that started it all, FNAF 1. I mean, where do I even begin? Even to this day, a lot of this game's ambience, aesthetic, and mechanics have held up extremely well. I can't comment much on replayability since, like all these games, it was my first time playing it. But what I can say is that I could see this game being enjoyable through 1, 2, 3, 4, multiple playthroughs, and always being interesting and finding fun stuff each time you play. This time I was feeling fresh, energetic, lively, even a little bit scared of the games coming up, but I had no time to lament in these feelings because I beat FNAF 1 deathless. You heard me right, deathless. Night 1, Night 2, Night 3, Night 4, Night 5, Night 6, 420 mode, all taken down in succession, no deaths. Some might even say Salmon Kid was, pushing P. I just have to ride it out, and if I get hit by a Foxy, I get I just have to ride it out. I just have to ride it out. Oh my God, please. Foxy, please. Oh, come on. You're such a dick. Salmon Kid is pushing P, baby. Oh my God. Oh, deathless. Deathless! 420 mode is honestly very simple, and Foxy gets cam stalled no matter what camera you're on. So the only thing you have to do is occasionally sync when you block Chica on the right side door with when you check Pirate's Code. When you're not looking at Freddy, he has a chance to get in, so you only have to close the door when that happens. Besides that, just do left light cam, right light cam, block them from coming in the sides, and you're always cam stalling Freddy. What's not to love? Easy, boom, bop, bow, simple. But that was neither here nor there, because we had no time to waste, and although FNAF 1 only took us an hour, that is still an hour lost. We had to move forward to arguably my favorite game in this entire series, FNAF 2. My humble opinion, between the gameplay, audio, mechanics, aesthetic, cameras, flashlights, masks, music box, animatronics, smelly kids, pizza, weird Easter eggs, and so much more, this feels like the best FNAF game in the series. Gameplay loop is satisfying, still difficult enough that I died multiple times through my playthrough unlike FNAF 1. Mask mechanic and breathing audio add such a nuanced level of anxiety to the game that I really love. Even when I was extremely adjusted to the mechanics, grinding 1020 mode over and over again, that little breathing in my ear, the added such a nuanced anxiety and really would just invade my brain space and mess with my thinking during the gameplay loop, which I thought was awesome. Maybe that's just my ADHD, but I thought there was something to note. At this point in the challenge, I was in good spirits. Not even a day in, grinding FNAF 2, having fun with chat. What could possibly go wrong? Like, so Bonnie's there though, and so there's just no time to whine. It doesn't even matter. I have to failsafe Bonnie there. Dude, like... Oh no! He's still there. He's still there. It's completely random. That is random. Sometimes it eats the animation and sometimes it doesn't. That is complete RNG. Sometimes it eats the... I need to pee. Oh man, this one's gonna take me a while. I'm getting worse. Keep sucking. He's still there. He's still there. I was supposed to FNAF 1020 mode is absolutely absurd. By no means will it be the hardest thing that we do during this challenge, but for all intents and purposes, it was the second most aggravating thing we'd play during the series. More on that one later. To understand why this was the case, you need to put on your learning caps. We gotta do a bit of FNAF theory. RNG plays a very prominent role in 1020 mode because of Toy Bonnie. When he hits your vents, he has roughly an 8-second timer, of which there's no way to distinguish when it started. When you exit a blackout, if you weren't aware that Toy Bonnie was in your right side vent, to see him, you have two options. If you're above half music box charge, you can face tank the blackout. You will cut it close with the music box, but it's not an inherent risk so long as you don't get Bonnie on the most bullshit spot in his timer. Now let's say that you're less than half charge on your music box. Well, now you traditionally would be screwed. However, we have two awesome mechanics, fail-safing and puppet stalling, that can help deal with this bad hand of RNG. If you see Bonnie in your sub half charge, you can open the cam and whine for 1 to 2 seconds before closing the monitor and the mask again. If you're lucky, Toy Bonnie won't be at the end of his interval, and you'll still get either a Toy Bonnie or withered animatronic blackout post camera. However, this charge may still not be sufficient to survive. I know, crazy. If this is the case, you are running your music box insanely close after the blackout. You do a mechanic called puppet stalling, where you open your camera and flash the puppet with the flashlight for 1 second before going to whine. If you catch the puppet leaving the music box, you could stall the song and save your run by preventing it from activating. However, even with flawless execution of these mechanics, they might still sometimes not work due to timing or other factors. And even if they do work, you can still lose the run. In fact, this is one of the only games where not every single one of your runs are winnable. And I would argue that a good portion of your runs can't even be won from the very start. This balance of trying to learn and improve and grow as a player and take accountability for the mistakes, but also being able to acknowledge when you lose to RNG, made FNAF 2 insanely frustrating, unbelievably tedious, and occasionally annoying. However, with enough practice, effort, and 13 hours of grinding, FNAF 2 1020 was relegated to the Shadow Realm. FNAF 1, FNAF 2, done in one day. He's a genius. He's a gaming god. He's a demon. What could possibly stop the S train from chugging forward? Well, after a lovely 6-hour sleep with no love lost, it was time to keep moving forward. On to day 2. Woke up day 2, breakfast. Some eggs and toast, bro. 4 eggs and 2 toast. Talk with chat the entire night last night. Mangle sound when he's in the vent. Little side note, this stream was done during a donation thought, raising money to go to TwitchCon. What? What is 25 times 5? 125? Dude, we're dangerously close. 40, 90, 990. We raised a whole lot of money, had a whole lots of fun. That's not what this video is about. My community's great. Thank you guys so much. If you'd like to be a part of that community, there's a lot of ways to do so. You can start by subscribing to the YouTube. I also have Twitter, Discord, and Twitch. Funnily enough, this whole video is based off of a stream that was a consecutive non-stop 24/7 stream on my Twitch channel. We went for 8 days, which is about 200 hours. It was absolutely insane. Thanks to everyone who was showing up and being there. I'd love to see you there for another future challenge stream. Little spoiler alert for that next stream. It'll consist of 3 games. Ooh-wee. Exciting. Make sure to stay to the end to find out what that's about. Started with FNAF 3, and I don't really have much to say about this game. Trap's iconic, amazingly made, jump scares are scary, kind of, maybe, when you get adjusted to it, I don't know. You really don't run into them much if you play the game well. And that's kind of the problem with this game. It's so easy. FNAF 3 took me an hour and a half an hour longer than FNAF 1, and I'd still argue that it's easier. Mechanics are so low APM, you could circumvent a lot of what's supposed to be threatening by just waiting or clicking to avoid phantoms by switching between systems, or having a visual error and literally just sitting there and waiting because you still get a visual cue even when the camera's out, and an audio cue on top of that when Springtrap moves. Just a little bit of stream theory. We love using paint to theorize on stream. You'll see a lot more of that later in this video. We trudged our way through main 5 nights. Leads us to the aggressive nightmare mode, which is honestly quite simple. You slowly hamper Springtrap's progression in the rooms 5 through 8 until you can't anymore and just unlock him in room 2 over and over again until you win. Just a little more complicated version of trapping him in room 10, which is the strategy for the other 6 nights. There's also a way to live even if he gets to your door by just AFK spamming audio cues in room 1 and waiting out any errors that happen. But in my run, it didn't even get to that. Couple failed runs, it was smooth sailing. Bing bang. Yeah, no real further comment on this game. It's honestly not great. The lore of the game is phenomenal. The mini games are cool, I guess. I don't know. They're kind of loud and annoying, to be honest. And as a standalone, it was probably the least compelling game in the whole marathon. So do what you want with it. If you're a FNAF 3 enthusiast, well, yeah, sorry. This game blows monkey balls. I didn't like it. Plus, FNAF 3's aggressive nightmare mode would fall as well. Lay and pray, baby, lay and pray! Yes! Bing, bing. The confidence riding high from FNAF 3 would not last, however. We would get to the most aggravating, most tilting, unbelievably unfun, bad game in this series, FNAF 4. First time making a video, so you're all new here. Let's get acquainted with a fun little icebreaker. I will tell you one thing I love and one thing I hate, and then you'll do the same, okay? Okay, let's do it. Ready? Okay, so I love snacks and video games and pizza and money and swag, and I hate audio cues. I fucking hate audio cues. The most stupid, the most lame, disgusting, stupid, horrible, awful thing that has ever been done in the history of mankind. I hate audio cues so much. There was footsteps!
I faded, I'm dead.
No, those were footsteps! That wasn't breathing! With this bullshit audio layering! Footstep layered with a What the I held the door on Foxy for 8 seconds! Dude, it's like, I need to clip that. What makes audio cues even worse? They're insanely quiet and you have to run the game at max volume, but every time you die and fail, there's an audio cue. You get the most ear-deafeningly loud, horrifying jump scare of all time. Okay, let me give this game a fair shake. This is the scariest FNAF game, and it's not even close. I won't hear the BS arguments about, oh, it's just because of how close you have to listen and the contrasting with, no. This game is genuinely terrifying. The environment, the soft steps on the carpet, the visceral nature of the creaking door and Foxy's footsteps. I mean, everything about this game's environment is just to die for. This is the scariest FNAF game, no argument, bar none. However, in being fair, I'll be equally fair the other way. The gameplay loop is kind of tedious, and I absolutely hate it. Just taking the game at its base mechanics, not yet talking about Nightmare and Nightmare Fredbear, who we will get to. This game was the most aggravating because of the mechanics. Every time you approach a door, you have to wait for about 3 seconds to listen for breathing. The problem is that you can catch the breathing audio cue at any point during its playback. So for example, let's say you hit the door and you get the start of the audio cue. Rather easy to hear. Close the door because it's loud. Let's say you catch the audio cue in the middle. It's kind of distinguishable, but has a property to it that makes it sound awfully similar to the step audio cue. But then this can complicate things. You need to listen extremely closely, and it is insanely punishing. There are no sorries, no oopsies, no recoveries, no fumbles, no fail-safes, nothing. Playing correctly, you lose. Once, you die. One cool thing I did like about the base gameplay actually comes from a misconception about the game that Foxy starts in the room. He doesn't. In fact, you can track Foxy's footsteps and stop him from getting into the room entirely. It's really fun that there are 2 playstyles, one where you can prevent Foxy from entering altogether, and one where you just do a regular gameplay loop until he enters, and then adjust, which adds a nice layer to the game in the playstyle choice, especially as you reach the harder nights. Speaking of, let's talk about those, because after 5 hours, I know, embarrassing, I sucked at this game, shut up, I beat the base game and moved on to nights 6, 7, and 8. Now let's introduce our new friends, Nightmare and Nightmare Fredbear. Wow, what can I say about these fun, awesome, cool, epic, really cool, sick guys? They're so cool and awesome. I love it. They're awesome. I love it. Something that I find extremely corny about this game is that despite there being such a desperate requirement for lots of practice to be good at these mechanics, practicing an entire set of new mechanics that they're adding in these nights is gatekept by 3 minutes of perfect play on the already introduced base mechanics. Then, after you perfect these base mechanics for 3 minutes, instantly you're thrown into the second set of mechanics with virtually no transition. If you might mess up right away, it sucks for you. You don't get to practice, go back to the back of the line, start over, try again. Luckily, I'm a demonic gaming god, so I didn't struggle with this nearly as much as some of you noobs did. I didn't struggle at all. No, I didn't struggle at all. So you finally get to 4 a.m. a few times. Wow, good job, awesome. Welcome, Nightmare Fredbear. Hi, our friend. He's so cool, it's pretty simple. He's awesome. Listen to where he goes. Footsteps on the side, one side or the other. And 3 seconds after the last footstep, go to that side, flash the light. If he's there, close the door. Yay, he's gone. Now you just do this over and over again, right? Well, no, there's one more mechanic. When Nightmare Fredbear laughs, he could either be on the bed or in the closet. That's awesome, just check the bed or the closet, right? No, oh no, that's not the case, because he can fake laugh. He can fake laugh, he's fake laughing. I find this so funny. That's me fake laughing. He can fake laugh. It's just based off of guessing. It's not even a mechanic. Why is this in the... As you can imagine, this is quite hard to deal with. So guess what we have to do? That's right. More theory. Lots of theory in MS Paint. My handwriting is very legible and not disgusting at all. The great thing about doing theory on stream is chat can chime in and give me advice as well. Talking out the hard parts of the game really helps me visualize what's going on and understand how to better apply my mechanics as I get more practice reps in. Speaking of practice, back to fake laughs. Let's talk about it. After theory and being a real creative failure, we realized there's a way to more accurately predict a fake laugh. If you get a laugh before steps and they start playing, or during steps, there's a much better chance the laugh was fake. But if the laugh was after, there's a pretty good chance it's real. However, if you want to be really safe, you have enough time if you're fast enough to check the door on the same side of the last audio cue, flash it. If he's not there, run back behind. If he's not there, close the closet without flashing. Cool mechanic, right? Well, yeah, it only exists because of fake bull. Last blah blah, FNAF 2, RNG, annoying, you get it. Yeah, okay, whatever, I'm over. If I'm being honest, it's bad, but it's not that bad. We grind through night 6 and 7, but then you get to night 8. Yeah, nightmare, 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 nightmare. Nightmare. So what makes Nightmare different? Well, for starters, there's no flashlight. So when you go up to the door, it better be the right one, because otherwise you're dead. Even better, the audio cues of him leaving take deceptively long. So you gotta hold that door real tight until he leaves and then he goes away. Fake laughs are also infinitely harder to account for. And that means it takes a lot of guessing. I love guessing. I love guessing. Yeah, I love RNG and fake laughs. But 15 hours. But 15 hours into FNAF 4. You have your damn dub, baby. Bang, bang, bang. Well, 15 hours sure is a long time, plus the time it took for FNAF 3 at this point. I was real tired. I was real sleepy. I was real tired. So, it's late. It's time to go to sleep. But if I was lucky tomorrow, I'd beat FNAF Sister Location and FNAF Pizzeria Sim in one day. I would be real lucky, and I would beat it fast and really fast, and I'd do it all really fast, and I'd definitely beat Sister. I honestly really enjoyed Sister Location. 1020 mode. Look, the base game itself is just... It has so many issues, I don't even know where to begin. Such a severe lack of content, some of the games just kind of being whatever, then other ones being randomly, insanely hard. Yes, I'm talking about the stupid mini-arena games we're on mini-arena time. The game not even having an alt-tab mechanic. Why? Don't even get me started on this. I played like 90% of my playthrough thinking that I couldn't alt-tab, and then I learned that I could shift-tab to alt-tab, but why can't I just alt-tab? Why would you take alt-tabbing out of the game as a mechanic? I don't understand. Really not fun. But seriously, there's so much to talk about. All of the story sequences feel kind of odd, and a lot of game design choices feel great in some areas, and then some spots it feels really bad. For instance, the rounded click team background makes the elevator scene super cool, but then makes some scenes in the vents and the main room kind of look odd. It also messes with the mouse, especially in the mini-arena game, which is something I'll elaborate more on in a second. But basically, the rounding of the screen also applies to the mouse, and it makes the game feel really odd. The Funtime Freddy game is honestly very well made. Really good building of stress and learning how much you can whine before you have to close the monitor again. The problem is that rather than adding more interesting games like this, Sister Location just kind of makes good games unbelievably long, and so you just have to play them over and over and over again. Because the gameplay loop is not nearly as enjoyable as the regular FNAF games, It's very easy to quickly lose interest. Speaking of terrible game loops, the mini arena game is the most awful thing I've ever laid my hands on. From the middle of the mini arena's animation being a time indicator, which is hilarious considering the other mini arenas on the side are a threat that you're just supposed to magically distinguish from each other, and the clear, unintuitive nature of winding the spring locks and how the game progresses, I chalk this up to being a great concept with absolutely atrocious execution. I can never really do a criticism of this game quite better than Yeah did, which coincidentally is one of the videos we watched on stream. So shout out to Yeah. After you finish watching this video, please go check him out and check that video out as well. I think it's really worth watching. Personally, we didn't agree with everything he had to criticize about the game, but it's a really great video nonetheless. So check that out when you're done with this one. This really just ends up having an overall lack of consistency in the playthrough, but by far, in a way, the most annoying part of this game is that when you're trying to beat Ender Night, you have to redo Night 5 over and over and over and over again until you beat it, and the entire game stays unrandomized through the whole sequence and just doing it again and again, and the entire game is completely non-randomized. It stays the same every single time you play it, except this one random number pad sequence when you're doing the baby disassemble, dingle, take the puppet, blah blah, all this stuff, and then it's randomly this tiny little keypad that has insane bending of the screen as well. The click team thing, you have to click the numbers right, and they change every time. Yeah, this leads to moments like these.
There is a passcode that you must enter before you can retrieve me. Enter the code carefully. 6. Enter the code carefully. 9. 2. 2.
I misclicked. God damn it.
3. 6. 8.
Kind of related back to my frustration with FNAF 4 Nightmare and Nightmare Fredbear mechanic practicing, but to a less severe and more just annoying level, honestly. But luckily, this is where my criticism ends, because Ender Night and 1020 mode are awesome. Ender being able to move silently adds a nice little touch to the game loop, where you think you may have missed an audio cue or become not confident in the situation, which can cause you to lose really fast. The power being super strict adds to this as well, because frequently checking the camera is just the death sentence. There is one annoying sequence, however, that can happen on Ender Night, which happened to me a few times, where Ender is just a piece of shit and sits at the door for literal hours, waiting to start a family, kids, grow up, and die, in which case you just lose, and that's super awesome and cool. Dude, how shit of a run is that, man? Fuck. I mean, it was literally like what the fuck am I supposed to do? Dude, he's like inserting himself in the door and getting it pregnant. 9-month carry, baby, raise the child with an absent mother, 3 jobs, grow up, child is 9 years old, first soccer game, second soccer game, third soccer game, soccer prodigy, send child to Blue Lock, dying of fuck old age on the deathbed, still sitting outside of his door. I mean the whole time. Adulthood, child playing soccer, you're missing every one of the games. Went to the Olympics, you're still at the door. Holy trauma. Thank you so much for the raid, I appreciate you. All of the base game in Ender Night took roughly about 5 hours, which is awesome, right? Well, no. Because enter 1020 mode, which took us an additional 12 hours. Wow, really bad. Why was this? Well, for a couple of reasons. To start, you spend the entire base game learning Ender and a bunch of random mechanics that have absolutely no application of 1020 mode. As a result, I played a bunch of different modes just to practice the mechanics and learn how to put everything together, because just starting with 1020 mode, I wouldn't have had enough knowledge to make runs worth it, kind of similar to what happened in Ultimate Custom Night. Then, after all the practice and getting to 1020 mode, I learned something really cool about this game. It's quite literally the most skilled hard mode in all of FNAF. There's such little RNG components in 1020 mode and sister location, and it makes for a really refreshing experience. I could feel myself improving and getting better without having to wonder if I lost to RNG or bad play. However, the opposite end of the coin is that this mode is really, really, really hard. I might get some shit for this, but I think sister location 1020 mode is kind of harder than FNAF 2 1020 mode, just on a raw mechanical level. RNG makes FNAF 2 1020 really hard, but sister location was a completely different level. The amount of inputs in every sequence is really high. The sequences occur so frequently, and there's so much sound cue layering, especially with Biddy Bap, the vent sound can kind of get lost in all the mayhem, so I easily died just 100 times alone to that. Nonetheless, sister location 1020 mode would finally fall after 17 hours of play. whatever sex sounds like. Oh, yeah! Oh my god. Holy fuck. Oh my god. Oh my god. Unfortunately, this meant I was kind of behind on time because the goal was to beat FNAF 1 through 6 in 3 days, but now it had been 3 days and Pizzeria Simulator wasn't done. So it was pedal to the metal, foot to the gas, another 6 hours sleep, and it was time to go, 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 go. We had to beat Pizzeria Sim as fast as possible, get right into Ultimate Custom Night. On to day 3. Okay, look, here's the thing. Pizzeria Simulator is not a bad game, by any means. In fact, it's probably one of the more fun FNAF games according to most people. However, this stream was about beating FNAF games with the traditional gameplay loop on the hardest difficulty. What does this mean? Well, we weren't playing FNAF World and Security Breach. So that also meant that we weren't playing the Tycoon portion of Pizzeria Simulator. So the only ending that was appropriate in this case was the completion ending, because it has none of the Tycoon gameplay, minus buying that barrel with the balloons on it. And yes, I played it. I got the high score. Woo! So this meant in Pizzeria Sim, we weren't playing the Tycoon part of the game. We were just playing the part with the base gameplay loop, which meant we did the completion ending. So salvaging all of the animatronics and then beating it on the hardest mode without entertaining the non-FNAF related parts of the game. This meant that the game got kind of hard, but that's really the extent of my talking points on Pizzeria Simulator. I know, right? The guy who played the less interesting portion of the game has nothing to say. Well, to be fair, the game is insanely easy even at its hardest point in this mode. There's no limit on time, so you can unironically just do an hour run if you wanted to, if that's how long it takes. And if you're really patient, when you get audio cues on both sides, you're fine. Time intervals are super lenient, honestly more lenient than even described to me in the guide videos. And you could just go to the left side for 4 seconds or whichever side you started on and then switch to the other side for 4 seconds, back to the other side. Wow, easy, they're gone. Not really that hard. But regardless, we still beat it. And thankfully, we beat it fast. Yes! Holy fuck. That sequence was insane. Not a memorable experience overall, but to be honest, that didn't really matter because this was the preface to the absolute giant, the mecca of all FNAF games. I mean, in my mind, I was already worried. We were a half a day behind. And we were just scheduling, sweating, anguishing, stressing, getting ready. Now it was finally time. Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Custom Night was here, and I was not prepared for how drastically more difficult this game was about to get. I was all gamed up. That FNAF 2 RNG brain, that FNAF 4 audio cue ability, that FNAF sister location raw mechanical hand skill. I was ready to slay the Goliath. That was Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Custom Night 2021. We had finally arrived. The precipice of everything, the penultimate mode, the quintessence of difficult FNAF modes. This was everything, and it was the world. Ultimate Custom Night 5020 shares a similar property to sister location 1020, in that there's no preparation for the mechanics built in through a story mode. Instead, there's a series of challenges, and then fan-created progressions to slowly work towards 5020. So working through these challenges, I did. The process took roughly about a day and a half to 2 days. Why was it important to do this? Well, for a few reasons. There was a lot of relevant mechanics you get to practice in Singularity or layered with other relevant mechanics in these challenges. 2 of the challenges, Old Friends and Chaos 3 in particular, were very helpful in scaling the difficulty of this game. What are some of these mechanics? Don't make me blush. You really want to hear about it? Seriously? Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, fine, I'll tell you. We're talking about GMB cycles, 0 frame flips, death coin farming, both monitor and BB and JJ farms, attack intervals for primary threats like Ballora, Toy Chica, Toy Bonnie, Scrap Trap, post-cam sequences, pre-cam sequences, reset sequences, mouse placements, threat grouping. Need I go more? Are we satisfied? We get it? Okay. Okay, good. Not gonna understand a lot of the mechanical jargon later in my talk on Ultimate Custom Night. That's okay. You shouldn't, because you're not a loser, you're not a nerd, you're not a reject. And that's okay. You shouldn't, because you're not a loser or a nerd that attempts to beat every single Five Nights at Freddy's game on the hardest difficulty in one stream. So good for you. Just enjoy life for whatever it is. You don't need this. Never do this. You hear me? Never do this. Please, please never do this. What? If you choose to do this, all the guides are in the description because I love you guys. Sorry, back to the challenge. So a lot of these are rather easy when compared to 420 or 1020, except 2, those being Old Friends and Chaos 3. 0 frame flips for Foxy and GMB cycles for Chica and Puppet are hard to learn independently, but being on the same night makes it even more frustrating. Despite this, this challenge is some of the best early 50-20 practice you get in this game. I did my due diligence and losing a lot. I could practice and learn for no other reason. I was not losing because of how hard it was. I was definitely just losing to practice and get good. Chaos 3 is great because you learn mouse placement for Nightmarian with 0 frames, distractions, and avoiding 13 13-second intervals for Withered Bonnie in this game, but also Rockstar Bonnie when you get to 50-20, which is a huge part of the harder modes. So yeah, honestly, challenge is part of this game, awesome. Nothing else, I would highly recommend it. Really fun, just challenging enough, especially if you don't have any of the previous mechanics from the other FNAF games. In retrospect, doing all the other games simultaneously made this part of the game significantly easier than I imagined it to be. So for someone just playing this game, challenge mode is probably super fun and really challenging. If you're interested, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd recommend it to you guys as well. That's not all, because challenge mode in itself is only about 1/16 of total prep needed for UCN 50-20 in my personal opinion. What do I mean? Well, here's a little fake imaginary skill timeline I invented in my brain on stream. When you beat challenges, you're about 1/16 done. 5,000 and 8,000 points is about 1/8 of the way there. 45-20 is about 1/4 of the way there. 47-20 is about 1/3 of the way there. 49-20 is about half of the way there. And 50-20 is the whole way there. Yay! You're probably wondering why there's such a severe jump between 49-20 and 50-20. And well, yeah, we'll get there. Be patient. Don't bring up my trauma without asking, please. I'm still seeing zero frame, GMB, Death, Foxy, Toy, Freddy in my sleep. Yeah, so we'll talk about that later. 5,000 points and 8,000 points. This part is just learning to incorporate all your timers together with the least threatening portions of the game together. No GMBs, no zero frames, no Toy Freddy RNG. Just lots of learning with a very heavy emphasis on your resets and practicing stuff. Working through distractions and threats at the same time, getting more comfortable with their timers, the whole shebang. This part is a decent challenge because you're learning how to layer everything together. It being easier does not remove its relevance to progressing as a player, however, because this is the first time you're really dealing with a whole lot. Training that subconscious little brain to know what's coming, when it's coming, and to put together a lot of little puzzles and doohickeys that help with managing all your time and everything in a good fashion. My mind, body, and soul were locked in at this point, and I wasn't even close to FNAF'd out. It wasn't harder than 1020 mode. It wasn't gonna phase me in the slightest. So we grinded, stacked our paper, made our revenue. We were getting better. But better isn't good enough. This is where it gets real. We're on to 45-20. 45-20 is the hardest version of what I previously described before you add the real deals. This mode removes Funtime Foxy, Puppet, Chica, Foxy, and Toy Freddy. So it's learning to incorporate mouse placement, good resets, threats, distractions, and all your timers in one concise place. Great practice. And honestly, for most players, this is a super respectable place to end. You'll never witness the horrors this game has to offer, leave with your sanity intact, enjoy your life. Sail off into the sunset. Take the kids out. Kiss your partner, get a great night's sleep. I mean, the world is your oyster after beating 45-20. All due respect. Very respectable. Good achievement. That's not what we're here for, though. After beating 45-20, I had a hankering we were becoming the best Five Nights at Freddy's player in the world. All right! We can do it! We can become the greatest Five Nights at Freddy's player of all time! Let's go, Squadron! We can do this! Yeah! Final move! Toy Chica! Snap! 47-20. What's new? Well, the bane of my existence in GMB cycles. I hate GMB cycles. By adding the Puppet and Chica, you've added a whole new layering and intersections of lots of different fun and awesome timers. This is so epic, it's awesome. So what's the deal? Well, here's a basic version of GMB cycle. GMB stands for Global Music Box, and it turns on when you press 5 on the keyboard. It turns off when you input a different tool or press 5 again. There are two Music Box related characters, the Puppet and Chica. Chica has a movement opportunity every 15 seconds. The Music Box is on when this happens. Chica's happy, yay, amazing, yay! But if it's not, ooh, she mad. She might kill you. That's bad. So you want to have the Music Box on during those times. However, you can't just turn it on and off for those times because the Puppet needs winding time similar to FNAF 2. So how do we reconcile this? Well, it's quite simple. Create a 30-second interval where from 0 to 14 seconds you run the power gen and fan, and from 14 to 30 seconds you run the Music Box, no fan. Absolutely no fan. This will drain your power. This hits both the 15-second intervals every single time and doesn't obliterate your power. Running the fan and GMB at the same time does. Sounds simple, right? Well, not really. You're gonna forget your GMB so many times you'll start wanting to eat your own flesh and sign up for a marathon and run into the ocean and just forget about all this because GMBs are just an absolute nightmare. Every night I went to sleep on stream for the rest of the stream, all I could think about was hitting my GMB cycle and waking up to the Puppet jump scaring me in the face. So adding the GMB as the precedent in all of your cycles takes a lot of practice, and that practice takes quite a while. Day in and day out, I'd practice my GMBs. The hours would go by like a quaint man sitting in a cave, silently marking the wall every minute that goes by with a dimly lit candle, marking every 30 seconds to switch his GMB. Class 4720 would follow as well.
Then there's a chance that maybe they'll think that you're an empty costume instead.
Yes! 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 Oh my God! We reached day 6 and we moved onward to 4820. There isn't really much extra to say here. Silly break with chat, eating some food, an absolutely atrocious drawing of Roxanne Wolf from Security Breach. Yes, no, just stare at it for a second. It's awful. Chat wanted me to make it up to them. I wasn't playing Security Breach and I wasn't playing FNAF World. There you go. Anyway, I was in the zone on this stream. Got on my back, took breaks to eat and practice. This only took us 2 hours because all it entailed was adding 0 frame flips into the regimen. Oh, I almost forgot. 0 frame flips. Let's talk about it. All right, briefly put on your studying cap. We're going to talk about 0 frame flips. The Foxy doll's on your desk after your camera goes down. It means Foxy's approaching at a rapid pace. 6 seconds after your camera flip, if he's on the table, perform what's called a 0 frame flip. This entails flipping the monitor up and down without the visual appearing. This doesn't work. Retry this every 6 seconds until your next ventilation reset. It usually shouldn't take that long to get rid of it. Why do we do this? Well, if we were to fully open the monitor, we are susceptible to all threats and would have to do a pre and post cam sequence. This is not optimal for 5020 and honestly makes it nearly impossible. So instead, we do a 0 frame flip to deal with Foxy effectively. Okay, sorry to nerd out. We beat 4820, bing bang boom. You could do anything you want when you sexy.
You could do anything you want when you sexy.
You can do anything you want when you sexy. Money make me feel good. People don't.
The fuck? 4920. What's the difference? Well, just a little extra RNG. I wasn't doing the death point sequence until 5020. So after you block Toy Freddy, first cam sequence, it's just RNG. How is this the case? Well, every 0.0 and 0.5 second interval, if you open the camera, there's a 1 in 11 chance that Toy Freddy attacks you. Something like that. I don't know. I'm not really a nerd. I don't study the numbers. Just 4820 with more RNG. And since it's way too difficult to avoid these intervals consciously with everything else going on, sometimes you just die to Toy Freddy. That's okay. It doesn't make you any less of a FNAF player if you die to him. It's the game, baby. It's not you. It's not your fault. It's the game. It's not your fault that you suck. It's just the game. 4920 in the books. I feel like Fusamasu falling from the sky. We're through everything except 5020, 7 days in. 3 days left. Sleeping, eating, breathing FNAF, theorizing, practicing everything under the sun could do to be ready. But now we were here. There was nothing left. The precipice of everything. Enter 5020. This point in the stream, I was lasered in. We had a bad day where chat was being horrible, a few bad days of sleep, trying to manage diet and exercise and everything on top of grinding the games. This balancing act was no more. Didn't even think I could beat 5020 in 7 days, let alone 3. So it's time to get to work. Little callback. Remember when I was talking about the progression of this game? Well, now it's time to explain why 5020 is so much harder than 4920. There are 3 reasons for this. Death coin farming sequence, Zor sequence, and post-Zor gameplay. Probably thinking to yourself, well, Salmon Kid, we didn't have to do a death coin sequence for 4920. Why do we have to do it for 5020? Well, young naive student, let me introduce you to Funtime Foxy. Funtime Foxy gives you a showtime at the start of the night and another one after her first one. Deal with this, you need to be on the cameras right before the showtime and look at Funtime Foxy. Doesn't sound too hard, right? Well, the problem is that you need to camera stall a lot of animatronics with your camera on cam 2 throughout the night. It's also very difficult to sync your reset with the hour marks, which means that you'll have to add more camera flips to your night, which is very bad because it means you need to do an additional pre and post cam sequence, which takes a lot of power and is not necessary. To circumvent this, we start the first 20 seconds of the night with a death coin farm that involves bringing up the monitor and down as soon as the visual appears, then closing and opening the side vent to get a coin from BB or JJ. Do this until 10 coins, and then 20 seconds, buy the death coin on cam 7, use it on cam 6, then close the monitor on cam 6. Again, this is not a guide video. There are guides in the description. They're made by me. If you're interested, you could look at those. I'm just explaining the bare minimum so you kind of get an understanding of why it's so hard. Speaking of, that probably doesn't sound that hard by itself, but you'd be mistaken because adding all the distractions and threats we previously talked about this makes for quite the fun experience. Just practicing the death coin sequence to perfection took about 4 hours. Now, if this was all there was, we'd be rather dandy and jolly. But it doesn't end here. Enter Zor. What is Zor? Well, Zor is the silly little animatronic that is the demonic version of Dee Dee, and he gets spawned on 4 intervals that are winnable, including 11 seconds, 21 seconds, 31 seconds, and 41 seconds. Spawns any later, well, sucks. The game is unwinnable because other animatronics you need to be dealing with through the cams start to turn up, and you can't cancel them unless you deal with Plush Trap. Speaking of Plush Trap, let's talk about Zora animatronics. Zora pulls up with a gang. Most of them are pretty simple. Shadow Bonnie blocks out the room, mini arenas block the screen, Bonnet just boop the snoot, and lol bit type lol. Very simple. But then we have Plush Trap and Nightmare Chica. For Plush Trap, you need to look at Cam 6 until he leaves, and then you're good. There's a whole sequence you have to set up before you do this that differs based on each Zora timer. It's hell. I'll spare your ears with the explanation. If you actually care, it's all in the guide. But once you get past Plush Trap, all you need to do is make sure you have Power AC on briefly when Nightmare Chica spawns to instantly kill her. I made these things sound very simple, but they're not. Each additional animatronic spawns 7 seconds after the Zora interval. You need to memorize all these timers based on each spawn, sync them with all the other threats and distractions you're dealing with. Forget about your GMBs. Oh, did you forget about your 0 frame flip with Foxy? What about randomly dying to a bad camera flip because of a Freddy timer? How about these lame-ass phone guys spawn right next to the camera or the mask? Or maybe you left your mouse somewhere too bad and Nightmarian gets you. Did you do everything right, but you mess up your mouse position? Sorry, 0.8 seconds, Nightmarian gets you. Old man consequences, miss a proc, bye-bye, it's all gone. After it attacks once every single night, you miss the cue, it's a 1.1 second reaction, and then run is over. Ow. Maybe you forgot to flash the Freddles after your Death Coin sequence. Maybe you miss Red Nightmare BB and miss Flash tomorrow. Are we understanding the point? This is no 1020. This is no 420. 5020 exists in a realm of its own, transcending the laws of reality, faith, and probably morality as well. This is truly the final boss. And no, just on the canon, don't nerd out with me with your ultra custom night bullshit. If you guys really want to see me play that, let me know, but that's not included. So it was time to grind and learn. I continued to get better, and on day 8, my community had a lot of faith in my skills. Constant comments that today could be the day that I beat it. I continued to push those statements away. I couldn't believe it. There was no way I was him. There was no way I was the demon gaming, ultra mega hyper bored, next millennia absolute FNAF god. Or was I? Witness greatness.
Please deposit 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
of the greatest celebrations of all time ensued, and it's safe to say we balled out a little bit. Dude, I'm the greatest ever! I'm the greatest ever! It's over. I beat it.
I wanna see some ass. I wanna see some ass. Baby, from the front to the back. Till she hit that gas. Check it out. Still fly than a bitch and you're safe. I got God with me and he's telling me things. I wanna see.
All in my page, sucking dick. All in my comments and screaming my name. She like the way that I dance. She like the way that I move.
And that's that. I beat every single FNAF game in the hardest difficulty in one stream. This challenge was absolutely insane, but I loved every single second of it. I made sure to really appreciate all the moments, the highs, the lows, everything. Massive shout out to my Twitch chat, and particularly my mods for all the support throughout this challenge. I'd also love for all of you checking out this video to maybe come check out my Twitch. We've got a great little community going over there, and it would mean the world to me if you came check it out and maybe even dropped a follow. In relation, you're probably wondering what kind of content I do since this is the first video. Well, by no means in my FNAF channel, this was just a challenge. My YouTube channel is going to be me beating seemingly insurmountable challenges like this one. In light of this, let's talk about our next challenge. You might know this content creator right here. Quite a while ago, he did a challenge where he speedran Getting Over It, Pogostuck, and Jumpking, and I believe in roughly an hour. Well, someone's got to beat this time. So let it be me. That's what's next, my friends. I'm currently in my last semester of school and I graduated in a month, so I'll be preparing for this next challenge. It should be coming faster than you guys think. So be ready and prepared. Keep up to date with all my socials on that. Twitter, Discord, Twitch, YouTube, you know the drill. I also want to take a brief moment to say super thank you to all the donations, subs, and bits on stream. We raised over $3,500, which is unreal. Funds are going to go to TwitchCon and getting a new computer, so I unbelievably appreciate it. Thank you so much for everyone who donated, and special shout out to the top donators right here on the screen. That said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're just here for FNAF, then thank you so much for checking me out. And if you're interested in what I do next, consider subscribing to stay up to date. All your support means the world to me, so thank you guys so much. If you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up. I'm exhausted, so you'll excuse me. I'm out of here.